Now, at some point, you're going to be wanting to think about the transition to Photoshop and what exactly you want your client or your viewer to see of your SketchUp model. Remember that the SketchUp model is not an end of itself. It's just a tool to get you the right view and the right materials, the right furniture for the perspective view that you're going to show your client. So I'd like to talk about the process of getting that perspective view for transitioning into Photoshop and then turning into a full-fledged finished rendering. The first, well, the most important thing that you need to do is think about the actual view. It's really, really important what you want to include and what you want to talk about when you are showing your perspective to your client. What we want to do first is get ourselves into the scene, and you can do it with the orbit tool and kind of pull in and pan and turn until you get the right view that you want. But there is another tool in SketchUp that allows you to gives you a head start or a jump start on doing it, and that is the position camera tool. It looks like a little man standing on an X. And if I click on it, my cursor turns into a little man standing on an X. And you want to uh, select a place where you would be standing to view the scene that you want to your perspective view to portray. So I'm just going to select an area on the floor here, and it zooms in. And if you look at the lower right hand corner of your screen, it says eye height, and it sets it at 5'6". You can at any point change that. Well, at this point, you could change it. I could change it to 7 feet if I wish, and it zooms up a little bit, or 6 feet, or whatever. I like to actually make my view a little bit higher, my eye height a little bit higher, so that you're looking down a little bit at the furniture, but it still looks like you are in the scene. You're actually in the room, or you're not floating above uh, the space. Maybe you're just standing on a step stool. Once I get into the scene, you'll notice that my cursor has turned into an eyeball. And the eyeball is the look around tool. You can also access the look around tool right here on the tool palette here. And when I left click and hold, I can turn and look around. And what it is it's as if I'm turning myself in the same position, or just turning my head. And I can go 360 degrees around the entire space. Until I kind of get the scene that I want. I can roll my mouse wheel to zoom in and out. I can also select the pan tool, which looks like a little hand, and that sends me back and forth this way. And it's a matter of tweaking and rotating and getting yourself exactly in the position that you want. It's important that your view be composed and look finished, and looks like something that has all of the areas of wall and window and furniture that you want to show in your perspective view and that you want to convey to your client. So I'm just going to say, yes, this is it. This is the view that I want to show my client. So the first thing that I want to do is, well, first, what I'm going to ultimately do is create a new scene. Scenes in SketchUp are views, and up at the top in this SketchUp model, I have a number of tabs, and each one of those are scenes or different views of my SketchUp model. Now, this SketchUp model is shown in three-point perspective. SketchUp models and does everything in 3-point perspective. What I want to do though is I want my perspective view to be in 2-point perspective. People look at two-point perspectives a little. They end up looking a little more polished because the vertical lines are all vertical, and it looks a little better when you are actually looking at a finished perspective rendering. So the way I do that is I go up to camera. Sorry, I go to, yeah, camera. And then I just come down here about a quarter of the way down and I select 2-point perspective. And now you'll notice that all of my vertical lines are vertical, and this is what I want. It has also changed my cursor to the pan tool, the hand, which will allow me to just move and to tweak ever so slightly my view until it's just exactly what I want to show my client. And now, when I have the view finally exactly the way I want, what I'll do is I'll go over to my default tray and I will go down to scenes, and the little plus button here adds a new scene. So I'll click that, and by default it's created a new scene for me, and it's called scene 9. What I want to do is I want to rename that scene so that's meaningful to me. So I'm going to call it I'll just call it perspective. Okay, now I have my perspective view, and if I look up here, up at my tabs, I have perspective. So if I go to my working model view, which is all the way over here, I can come back to my perspective view, and boom, I am exactly where I want. And it's from this view that we are going to do the process of exporting to Photoshop.